beautiful auditorium. I'm sorry to cut you off your conversations, and I am the most honored to introduce our next speaker. He is an incredible human being, a student of life, a great speaker. We are incredibly honored to have him join us. His passion is teaching and learning, and he'll speak to you a little bit about that. Please help me welcome, without further ado, Reverend Dr. John G. Moore.
Thank you. Now, I came in here today and I got a script all with me and everything, but you know, you feel so personal to me. Can I kind of like leave the script a little bit and just we talk? So you heard my great title. I walk around sometime and I got a lot of people that call me Dr. Moore, and I still walk around when they be like, I'm like, who they talking about? You know, I've come a long way. You know, I'm a share a little bit about who I am. I'm the Vice President for Resource Development and Strategic Partnerships for the United Way of Delaware. And so that's a title, ain't it? It took me a month to memorize that. And my responsibility in that role is I have to raise $20 million in the state. I have a great team of great people who go out there and knock on doors. And so we have corporate support that give us as much as $6 million, and we have smaller businesses that give us as little as $2,000. But everything accumulates because our mission is to maximize the community's resources to improve the quality of life for all Delawareans. That's our mission. And then we got this great credo. It says, underneath everything we are and underneath everything we do, we're all people, connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united. That's our little slogan there. Now I say that in my commercial voice, that's what it means to live united. And so, you know, I'm doing that all day long, but also in that, for 15 years, I've been a youth pastor at the Calvary Baptist Church. I've had typically from 70 to 80 kids in my ministry. And one of the things I'm most proud of is that for the last 13 years, every senior in my ministry has gone to college. Can we give a hand to that? And that's all driven by expectation and accountability. You know, I treat them like I love them like a father, like their youth pastor, but at the same time I hold them accountable for their actions and what they should be doing. Along with that, I'm the president and CEO for my own company, Total Increase Productions. I travel all over the country doing Martin Luther King presentations. I know his speeches down to the stutter. I know it down to the stutter. And I would never, and I'll share a little bit about that, and because that really makes who I am. So you hear all these great things. I'm married, been married about 29 years. It's my 30th year. Yes, I will. Yeah, if you see me sweating at all in here today, it's because tomorrow's Mother's Day. And I don't have a card nor flowers. So after a while, I'll be talking to y'all like, y'all got it? You good? I'm out. I did get my gift last week, so I'm good on that. 2 sons. My youngest son just came home, back in the refrigerator, eating everything that's in sight. He was a freshman at Lebanon Valley College where he's playing basketball. He's a great basketball player here in this state. Was first team all conference and blue and gold, all that good stuff. And I try to keep up with him. Just doesn't happen anymore. And then my oldest son's a graduate from the University of Delaware about 4 years ago. Got some blue hens in here. I love y'all, but you know I ain't from Delaware, so I'm from Philly. Got some Philadelphians in here. So you hear my story, right? And you want to say, well, how can I connect with you right away? And I read your mission statement. And one of the things that I went on your website and saw some critical things that you talked about that hit me in my heart. So the way I'm going to approach what I say to you today is I'm going to look at it from the perspective of I'm an educator. I spent 8 years of my military career in the classroom. I was an award-winning Air Force-wide instructor because I love what I do. I love getting in front of y'all. Can tell I love talking. I'm a Baptist preacher too, so you know. So don't say amen, and we'll get out of here in a good time. If it's good to you, and I hear somebody say, "Whoa," I'm going to pull out a plate and take a collection. That's how it works for me. And that's it. Let's start right now. You don't need a plate. Anybody got a hat? Start right there. So you hear all these things about me, right? And then I break it down because I looked on your website and I saw that you gave these great numbers that over 16 million kids in this country are considered to be in poverty. And 1 in 3, I know you know these numbers, are supposed to not graduate from high school. And that of those who graduate from high school, I'm trying to remember without looking at the paper, I said I think about 18% will go to a 4-year college, and only 9% of those will graduate by the age 25. That's amazing. You know why it's amazing? Because it sounds just like me. I thank you for what you do. I say this all the time. I say this to teachers whenever I go out. Thank you for what you do. Yeah, I remember her clear as day. Oh, I'm in front. I got to stay right here. I remember her clear as day. Don't get it twisted. I love a camera now. You know, I remember Miss Perry. I'm much older than all of you guys, but I remember Miss Perry, my kindergarten teacher. Oh, yes. She developed me and molded me to be who I was. And then I remember Miss Plummer, come hither. That was her statement. Whenever she said that, just get ready, because the wood was coming. That's my time. But I grew up in deep, deep poverty. So I knew what it was like for my mother. I had to go around knocking on people's doors to ask for something for me and my siblings to get something to eat. And then my two oldest brothers were gangbangers in North Philly, Strawberry Mansion. So they both went to jail for 5 years for homicide. They didn't do it. In the wrong place, wrong time, you get caught. Buddies out there, you go along with them. And my father was an alcoholic. So I'm dealing with all of these things. So the last thing I'm thinking about is education. You know, nobody in my family had ever gone to college. You know, pretty much so until my sister near me had graduated from high school. Nobody had even finished high school. So here was this urgency that I learned the power of education. And I said, you know what? Because of people and what they invested in me, I am absolutely committed to making a difference. There's a great statement that says this. I'm one of them guys that get on an airplane and I pick up those books and they have all those quotes, and then I memorize them and I try to act like I'm the author. As long as they don't find out where it is. But this quote says this: excellence is the result of caring more than others think is wise, risking more than others think is safe, dreaming more than others think is practical, and expecting more than others think is possible. That's excellence. And that's what I see in all of you. Because you're bringing something to the classroom that a lot of these kids may not see at home, in their community. My son today is experiencing one of the most saddest moments of his life at 19 years old, because one of his friends just last week got murdered in Dover, who he used to play basketball with. And he calls me on my job and he says, Daddy, Sean got killed. Sean? Last time I saw Sean, he was only about 11 or 12. Sean's one of those kids that didn't finish high school and got caught up in a gang. And today they're burying him. And so when I think about that and I think about what you do, your job is critical in making a difference. And so I wanted to approach this from the perspective of how I teach. Now, you've inspired me already. You got me fired up. You got me fired up like I'm one of your students. Yes, please, excuse me. So fired up that guess what I'm getting ready to do? Leave the nonprofit world and go back into the schoolhouse. Be a head of a school for a charter school. Thank you. Till 1 month when I start throwing people all over the place. No, that won't happen. Because it's a great statement. You know what the world needs more of? It needs more people who love what they do. Can you get me on that? Howard Thurman put it this way: don't ask what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then you go and do it. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. And so I'm a passionate person. I got to get toned down sometimes. Some of the places that I go to, and be like, Reverend, please, you're supposed to be sophisticated here today. And I do. I got a great sophisticated side. I can bring that to you. I give it to you. Well, that's correct. Absolutely. We're trying to raise resources around this country, and we know that some of the things and the data, what they prove is that we need things to happen, and we need to be able to get those monies in order to change the world. And then I come right outside, I see one of my boys from Philly. You know what I'm saying? I still got on a tie and a suit. But the thing is to be flexible and reach everybody where they are. Yeah, it's a school I'm excited to go to. It's a very diverse school. And I don't care what your color your skin is. I don't care how much money you make. I don't. I don't care all the things that are going on at home. Oh, of course now don't say that. I'm not saying that like I don't care, but those aren't the things that I value to be able to reach into those kids, to be able to turn them around. What I do value is potential. And I can look in any child's eyes. Let me tell you something. Coming through my youth ministry, I got straight A kids and I got kids that are struggling. I created a youth leadership development, youth leadership academy that I've actually taught down here in Seaford. And the goal was not to have all straight A students. I want those students that are struggling. I want those students that have low self-esteem. Give them to me. And then I balance them with that student that is an academic genius but scared and introverted to be able to come out And in 6 weeks, what I've seen as a great formula is teamwork. So those kids that were struggling go back to the classroom, and now they start doing well academically. And those kids that would hardly speak to anyone now, they got the courage to speak up. So this is a great model. So what I want to do is I want to share a principle with you. I believe in 3 things that helped me through the voice of a teacher that you can do every day, that you can do for yourself, and you can do for your students. 3 principles. Simple. Self-development, external servitude, and an attitude driven by faith and hope. Yeah, self-development. It's all important. You know, I say this all the time in regards to yourself. Before you can love anybody, who's to start with? You got to love who? Yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to believe in yourself. You got to accept yourself. You got to accept your limitations. But you can't be anybody other than who? Than me. What you get in the day, this is me. I mean, I'm a corporate vice president and so forth. But whoever I meet with, they get who I am today. And so I think about self-development from this perspective. 1, I got to love myself. In all 3 of my offices that I have here, I have an office in Wilmington, Dover, and in Georgetown. I have the same photograph. It's a great thing to put in the classroom. You bet you've seen it. It's a little kitty cat looking in the mirror. And what the reflection of that little kitty cat sees is what? Lion. Mufasa. No, lion. I don't say no lion. I say Mufasa. And in the midst of that, young people, that little kitty cat might think he's going to open up his little voice and go, "Ugh." But all you're going to go is, meow. But the title of the picture is what matters, is how you see yourself. So this is what I do. Don't think I'm crazy. But I get up every day and I have a short moment with the mirror. Yes, I do. My wife been dealing with this for 29 years. And I get up and I walk in the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I say something like this. Lord have mercy. Look at you're a good-looking brother. And the mirror looks back and says, you sure are. But I choose to do that versus reflecting back on where I came from. Reflecting back on the negative things. And it's the same thing that I do with the young people that I encounter. I teach them to look positively at themselves. And then the other thing is to accept who you are. You know, you can't be somebody else. I don't know about you. In my era when I was growing up, the man on the court, and I played some serious basketball, the man on the court was Michael Jordan. And y'all remember he had that Gatorade commercial? I mean, I know y'all young, but they just brought it back out. Sometimes I feel that he is me. I dream of Mike and what he could be. I dream I move, I dream I groove like Mike. You know what I'm talking about? If I could be like Mike, I want to be like, you know. And that's what I started doing. I would go on the court and try to act like I was Michael. I ain't had the size of his hands and everything, but I'm trying to do his stuff, and guess what was happening to me? They was snuffing all my shots. Blocking them, I was missing every jump shot. Nothing. But the moment that I said, well, forget about Michael. Let me start operating in my own power. I would be that much more successful. And that's the result that I got. And that's the same result that I tell young people. You don't have to be anyone other than who you are. Love yourself, accept your limitations. And then the other thing I tell them all the time, and I tell you the same thing. You know, you shouldn't be looking at each other and making such deep comparisons about your skill sets when it comes down to the classroom. But I will say this to you. You should be the best at whatever you do. My great hero, Dr. Martin Luther King, used to say, you should do your life so well, your life's work so well, that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it better. You know, I started thinking about that. Yeah, I remember when, I'll give you an example, in going to these King speeches. I started memorizing the speeches when I was young. I needed a hero. When I was growing up in North Philly, you heard about my situation. No, I didn't have a whole lot. I mean, I had a great support cast. You know, I was one of those kids that could have been classified as at risk, but I didn't know it. Because I had a mom that was really pouring everything into me that she could. So I didn't really know that we were poor. Even though we didn't have a car, we didn't have the greatest of furniture. But the love was so tremendous that I didn't realize that I was an at-risk kid. I really classified myself later as an at-promise kid. because I saw such potential from what my mom was telling me and what others were telling me, like you, do in the classroom. So I needed a hero, and that hero became Dr. Martin Luther King. I heard this guy, and I was like, wow, this man he's awesome. I'm a fanatic for him. I looked at his documentaries. I'm driving here to Seaford. I'm listening to his tapes. I mean, it's unending. My poor family at home, they be like, Lord have mercy, can you ever let it go? Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I start talking like him. My wife said, you want something for breakfast? I'll be like, I'll take some eggs, milk. You know, I got a problem. Make sure you add some cheese on that. You know, I'm staying in character, you know. And it's good to laugh. And I started memorizing these things, right? Watch this, because you got kids in your classroom, people hating on them, telling them they're never going to amount to anything. I was hearing all that, even when I was learning these speeches. But remember, it was about self-development. So I said, if I'm going to learn these speeches, I want to be the best. I want somebody to really be able to call me from all kind of places to hear me. And I remember I got the I Have a Dream speech down. I know that from beginning to end. I ain't just talking about that I have a dream. I'm talking about I am happy. I know it down to the stutter. I know it down to the stutter. And I remember, young people, I created this presentation called Echoes of a Prophet. It's 5 of his speeches with PowerPoint. So as I'm speaking, I don't even look. It's all timed. And so as my audiences are looking, my words are corresponding with the pictures, especially when I do it for children. It's her marvelous mother and father. The picture comes up. Mom and Dad did. I love to look at the kids out. They be like, how do you do that? I remember the first time I did my presentation, and people were telling me nobody would ever want to hear it. Nobody want to hear that, man. And a lot of people do Martin Luther King speech. Ain't nobody want to hear you. And I remember I went to my first audience. It was a little church. And some of them, you got storefronts. There's 8 people in there. I was like, 8 people, that's all I get today. And 4 of them were asleep. And I went in there, and I still delivered as if there was 1,000. Because I had a vision that one day it would be like that. Now let's fast forward. This is my, you heard Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then that last one is self-actualization. This was my actualization standpoint with these speeches. 2011, they opened up the new monument in D.C. Everybody know that? Anybody been there? Big old statue. And they had a private dedication. About almost 8,000 people. And the big shots was there. I was hanging out. Jesse Jackson, he called him to the stage. You know, Jesse Jackson's a big guy if you ever met him in person. Jesse walked up to the stage, just, you know, he's a big crowd. Then they had Al Sharpton, you know, Slick Back New York. Anybody from New York, y'all know how y'all walk. Al had to come back with that New York lean. And, you know, with the lean and the side looks. Make sure everybody looking at you. There were people like C.T. Vivian. You may not know C.T. Vivian. If you saw the movie Selma, he was one of the characters in there because he was in charge of the Freedom Riders. Andrew Young, Dr. King's son, Dr. King's daughter, Dr. King's sister. And Dr. King's daughter spoke a rousing word. Then of all the people they could have asked that day to come and recite I Have a Dream, they asked a brother from Delaware named John Moore. And they announced him. Now from Delaware, Reverend John Moore. Crickets! Nobody knew who I was. It was going off and snapping around Jesse and Al. I was like, yo, give me something. But guess what? I walked up there like I was as bad as Al Sharpton. And I'll tell you this. I was nervous that day. As much public speaking as I do, I was nervous. You know why I was nervous? Because of people that were sitting out there looking at me. Not just because it was almost 8,000 people. But on the front row there was Merle Evers Williams, the widow of Medgar Evers, looking at me. It was Roland Martin from CNN with his camera. I told you I ain't camera shy. He was rolling and I was making sure he was like getting my best out. I was like, yo, you got me? But what made me most nervous was a man on the front row by the name of Wyatt T. Walker. I don't know if you ever heard of Reverend Dr. Wyatt T. Walker. but he was one of the original writers of that speech that day. Anybody really know the history of that speech? You know, Dr. King was never supposed to say, "I have a dream." Never supposed to say that. But can I be real with you? He's a Baptist preacher. When he was doing that speech, it was kind of boring people because it was manuscript. He was reading it. "I am happy to join with you today in what will go down." So, you know, people was like, "Yo, man, what a preaching at?" So he gets down all the way to the end, and then he hears a voice, Mahalia Jackson. And she says, she looks at the audience, 250,000 people. "You ain't hitting them, Doc." She said, "Tell them about the dream. Tell them about the dream." Because just 6 months ago in Detroit, he gave basically that same speech. That's the history of it. Then he got to that part that everybody knows. "So even though, I got me a bad, I'm going to give it up. We face the difficulties of today and tomorrow. I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Speed to the end. "So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill in Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, "Free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last." I know I can get some love for that. That was my self-actualization. That was somebody telling me, when I reflected on it, that told me I would never have that amount to anything. And typically during a year, I do about 40 to 50 engagements from January to March. In schools, churches, businesses, prisons. And so self-development is critical. Every child whose eyes you look into, if you can cause them to believe in themselves, regardless of what society is saying, they can do great things. And so this gets to the second point, external servitude. There's nothing greater in life. That's what you do every day. There's nothing greater in life than to reach out and help someone who is in need. It's tremendous out there how many people are hurting. I know you see it in some of your schools, just the level of neglect and challenge, and how it seems like the odds are steeped against you, but you got to keep reaching. You know, I'm very proud that, in my career, I've been honored with a lot of things. I remember just in 2012, I received the Human and Civil Rights Award from the Delaware State Education Association. And I remember being at that banquet, and one of the things I do is I travel around, especially at elementary schools, and I teach kids an acronym about DREAM. The DREAM represents being dedicated, resilient, enthusiastic, having a positive attitude, and being motivated. And it was great to have that. But let me tell you what's more important. And this lines up with the work of what you do. I make it a point every year to go into 3 places to do my presentations. I go into the Ferris School for Boys. Anybody ever heard of Ferris School for Boys? Yeah. I go there every year. I went there this year and practically got cursed out. Here he comes. Here comes that Martin Luther King man. We don't want to hear that. Explicit. And I'm just sitting there and I could be dismayed, I could be upset. But I don't know what that kid has gone through. I don't know what challenge has put him in this school. And I did my presentation. And after the presentation, that very kid that had the most negative things to say asked the most profound questions. So I'll make it a point to go there. Then right after I come out of there normally, I just go right down the street. Right on the same road. Anybody been there? You know that right down the street is the Newcastle County Detention Center. Mm-hmm. And I'll go in there and I'll talk to those kids. And then in the next week, I usually end up right here in Milford at the Stevenson's home. Because those kids need to know that they still have dreams, regardless of the mistakes they made. You know, it blew my mind one time, young people. I was at the Stevenson's home, and there was a young lady there. This is why I know the power of education is unbelievable. You can reach, if your heart is right, you can reach anyone. If you really believe in what you're doing, you can reach anyone. And I was giving that presentation, and a young lady was there. And so after I was finished, you know, I give a Q&A. And I mean, one of the most charming, sweetest young ladies. You know, I'm like, man, what the heck is she doing in here? And she asked me, she says, why do you do this, Mr. Moore? Why do you travel around? Why do you even come to a place like this? And I'll say this to the young men here especially those of you who are working to a large group of these young African-American males who feel that life has just given them one of the hardest blows to dream fulfillment. I go and do these presentations to these boys because I want to inspire them that they would not have the audacity to one day pick up a gun and shoot my own son. Sounds selfish, but that's the reality. And I do that to a magnitude of all these young people so that they can realize that there is tremendous value in life. You have a tough job. You do. I know many of you most likely leave at the end of the day and you be like, really? And then you know what you got to do. You got to get up. You got to square off your shoulders. And you got to go back in there because I stand before you as the result of people like yourself. Your external servitude and making a difference. That young lady, at the end of the service, I found out what she did to get there. And it was remarkable. She was one of the 2 young ladies who had carjacked this old woman in Milford. I don't know if anybody heard about that story. Locked that woman in her car, in her trunk, and drove her around for like 2 or 3 days. No food, no water. She was diabetic. That woman could have died in that car. And I got to meet both those young ladies. And guess what I saw when I spoke to both of them? In both of their eyes, I saw tremendous promise. Anybody in here perfect? Nobody. We all make mistakes. I'm telling you, I know you might get frustrated. I know you might sometimes get impatient. But I truly believe that there's no greater work that can offer the type of reward than what you're doing as teachers. And so here's the final thing. Talked about self-development, talked about external servitude. Now you got to have an attitude that is driven by faith and hope. You know, there's a school in Dover called the Murphy School. Anybody heard of the Murphy School? Anybody ever worked with foster care kids? It's amazing. Their stories. are unbelievable. I did a summer camp with them, taught them my leadership development class. One of the things that we do with them in my leadership development class is we do this thing called dream inventory. Just write down your dreams. Write them down. Write them down by the hundreds. And I remember a young lady, she's like, I don't have any dreams. I've been abused as a child. I don't think I'm going anywhere in life. But you can't give up. We had her for 3 weeks. And by the time those 3 weeks ended, she had written such profound dreams on her sheet that they were featured on the front of a newspaper. You know, I remember this quick, funny story. When we were teaching that, this young lady, she says, okay, Reverend Moore, you got us writing down all these dreams. Why don't you write down one of your dreams? And it kind of goes back to this Dr. King stuff. They said, well, what's your dream? I said, you know what I would love? One day for Oprah Winfrey to hear me say, I have a dream. They said, well, write it down. Believe in it. And I did. I wrote it down and forgot about it. Well, the monument opened in 2011, but they had a groundbreaking ceremony in 2006. And I got down there and we went to the groundbreaking ceremony. Didn't even have a ticket. Who said they're from Philly? You know you don't need no ticket. You know, you just walk in there, act like you know you got some authority. You know, I had that Philly walk in there, and I was like, before they could say, I was like, and you know what, man? Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't get any I did this all the way down to the VIP section. They said, you know, he's bold enough to walk in here. He has to have a ticket. Yes. And I was with one of my boys. I was like, don't say nothing, man. Just keep walking. Keep coming with me. It's so powerful. This was 2006. So when we were walking down there, this guy on stage was speaking by the name of Barack Obama. At that time, a senator. Oh, my goodness. Whoever thought that guy would be president? 2 years later, he was. But here's how this was so deep. I'm walking in, right? And all of a sudden, the crowd's going crazy. Oh, they just scream, going off. I'm thinking, it ain't that important, man. Screaming like that. And I break open, and I get to a certain point, and guess who's standing right in front of me? Oprah. I mean, looking right at me. You know what I was ready to say. Can you lend a brother about 3-4 million? I didn't know. I didn't go there. I was tempted. I think she was a little nervous because she started like, oh, look for security, because I was staring her down. It's Oprah. And I remember what I told my kids. And I went right into it. I looked right in her eyes, bro, and I said, I have a dream. She was looking at me like, what is wrong? She didn't say it, people, but I felt in her spirit she was saying, security. I looked her right in the eyes. I got a picture right on my desk. I have a dream that one day Oprah's going to bring me to her show. And I'm going to make all kind of money. I have a dream today. Oprah stopped and she said, whoa, that is so good. And she just kept on walking by. She got us out of there. But you know what I tell my kids? Remember with that dream inventory? I said, did Reverend Moore get to talk? And do I have a dream for Oprah? They say, you sure did. Can we have a hand to that? That was real stuff. So in engaging young people from that perspective, I do a lot of quotes. You know, my sons used to come in, and I bet you've heard this one. And this stuff's very effective in the classroom. I can't remember to bring home groceries from the store or people's names. I'm not good at that. But for some reason, when I lock in a quote, I can remember it. And my sons used to come in. And this is why I have such success in my youth ministry. Because I don't believe in this word can't. I believe if you got the function of your limbs, if you can count to 10, I believe if you can see, hear, speak, you got the potential to do anything. Am I tough on that? Yes, I am. Do I have high expectations? Absolutely, I do. But you know what? The most fulfilling thing for them is that when you cause somebody to believe in themselves and then they do it, they look in the mirror and they say, wow, I can do this. And it ignites something. So my sons used to come in and, you know, Mom, Dad, we didn't play this. They would come and talk about what they can't do. I can't do the math. I can't do the science. And my youngest son now, he was a National Honor Society guy. But my younger one, God plays with you, man. Let me tell y'all, when y'all have kids, they were total opposites. One was a pure athlete. And my kids had to do this. You ever heard of excuses? That's right. My sons used to have to come in. I was military. You know, even if they had on a pair of Nikes, I better hear them click. And they had to stay in there like this. And I make them stay there. I walk around. You know, I'd be like, yeah, you know. Then I say, recite excuses. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent, which build monuments that lead to nothing. I mean, articulated too. And those who specialize in them are seldom good at anything else. I said, great. Now get out of my face and go do your homework. And guess what? I would twist it around and we would do this thing in unison. I teach these poems to my sons so we can say it together. I say, on three, 1, 2, 3. And we say this thing called The Man Who Thinks He Can. You ever heard that? I'm telling you, I'm loaded with all of this stuff. Kids be like, huh? If you think you're beaten, you are. You know, I like to get into it. Y'all, I don't know if y'all like me. I like to use different language. Sometimes I just like to sound like I'm a radio personality. If you think you dare not, you dare. If you would like to win, but you think you can, it's almost a cinch that you won't. If you think you'll lose, you've already lost. Because out in this crazy world, you will find that success belies in a person's will. It's all in a state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. And you've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize, for life's battles don't always go to the swifter or stronger man. But sooner or later, the student that will succeed is the one that believes that they can. You know, then they all fired up by then. So I'll be like, say, I can, oh, I can. I'll be like, all right, now go out there and do it. From the basketball court to the academics to relationships to all of that, I will push my kids to say, you can achieve anything. I don't care what your economic situation is like. I don't know what your household is like. But if you want it bad enough, you can do it. Stop saying I can't. Put that stuff in the grave. Start saying you can. And then you make it happen. That's what y'all do every day. And I know what you might be sensing. I bet you walk out of the schoolhouse sometimes. And I bet sometimes you feel like nobody heard you today. I don't think they're listening to me. And let me tell you something. In 15 years of the ministry that I've been doing with youth from ages 3 to 17, in 8 or 9 years of teaching in the military, I had somebody come up to me last night when I was at a banquet. And he says, you know why I did what I did in my military career? I followed what you said in the classroom. I watched your example. You know, I was acting like it was no big deal when I was waiting. I was like, man, that's great to hear. Awesome. Thanks. Appreciate that. Then when he left, I was like, she said, I know what I was doing. I knew I was touching somebody's heart and touching somebody's mind. And you hear a story like that over and over again. So I'll conclude on this, and then if you have any questions. I really believe in affirmations. Any of you ever have a tough day at school? Let me see your hands here. Some of y'all doing it emphatically. Right here. Real tough. I got to ask you a personal question. All right? Any of you ready to give up? We don't need you to give up. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of hearing about kids like Sean that we laid to rest today. That's why I'm going back in the classroom. I'm tired of kids not being able to achieve. Man, I'm one of them emotional guys. I cry at a heartbeat and anything. I closed my door at home because my wife said, you in there crying again? I cried everything. And one of the things that made me cry most recently is a video I saw on a website for a school called Urban Prep Academy. You ever heard of Urban Prep? I want you to look at this. If I can't leave you with nothing else today, I'll leave you with this. Get on your computers tonight. Look up Urban Prep Academy in Chicago. And you will see a video that will make you realize what you do. Because there's a guy there, came out of the law arena and went into the charter school system with a mission to reach out to young black males in inner city Chicago and prove to the world that the way you depict them is absolutely false. Watch that video. These are kids that showed up at that school with maybe a 7th grade, 6th grade reading level. And for the last 5 years, that school has sent 100% of their seniors to a 4-year college. What's the formula? Teaching them the principle of self-development. Looking in the mirror like Reverend Moore saying, yeah. Teaching them that it's more about life than just you. Go out and help somebody else. And teaching them to have faith and hope and attitude that will drive you. You'll see those boys on that video talk about how much their teachers care for them. You'll see parents crying at their graduation. It's so beautiful. They show up at the school, they get a black blazer, some khaki pants, and they get a red tie, solid red tie. Then they do this thing called signing day. For the athletes, we know what signing day is. Some school then gave you a scholarship, but their signing day is that they're signing their letter of commitment to the 4-year college that has accepted them. And the tradition is so beautiful that that teacher or that head of school tell them to take off that red tie. And they take that red tie off, and he gives them a new tie that's red and gold. That's the symbol that you've been accepted to a 4-year school. And one of the great pictures I have hanging in my office is they all cheering. They all got on their gold. A lot of them got on, practically everybody in the picture got on their gold and red tie. And what they're celebrating is the final person in their class had just got accepted to a 4-year school. Can we give a hand to that? That's what you do. Look at that video. If you want to be inspired tonight, I'm telling you, every time I watch it, I try to act like I'm tough, but I be boo-hooing. I'm okay. Because all I see is somebody like me, grew up in the city. You'll never amount to anything, man. You'll never be nobody. Nobody will ever want to hear you. And you see these young men on that video talking about, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to come back to my community and make a difference. Teach for America, that's what you do. I'm proud of you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't want you to give up, man. I wish I had a bit more autonomy. I'd be like, where you think you're going? I'll be meeting y'all at the door. What? Get back in there. I gotta find some of y'all schools and come in there. Don't give up. I know some of y'all be clenched lips. That boy, don't give up. Before you know it, that kid will be coming back to you and saying, thank you. Gosh, man, thank you so much. I would have never made it without you. So again, I just want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you guys. I thank you for what you do. I think the best is yet to come. Hold on. And just like Howard Thurman said, don't ask what the world needs. You find out what makes you come alive. And then you do that. And I think it's teaching. Because the world needs people who have come alive like you. Thank you. God bless you all. And y'all did good. No amen, hallelujahs, and all that kind of stuff. Does anybody have any questions or any questions to add on? I mean, I got to run and cut grass, and that's what's going to be my issue, so I'm trying to... We're all good?
Wait.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you so much. I met you a couple times at Dylan.
Oh, absolutely.
You spoke. You didn't see me. I was spying. And then I met you at United Way and at Bank of America, etc. So, I mean, there's nothing anyone can say after that. So, just huge. Please, can we just say thank you so much? There's a quote that I wanted to say as a conclusion for today that Eleanor Roosevelt says, "We must do what we think we cannot." And I think about that every day. So, thank you, John.
Thank you all.
We are finished.